What's going on, everybody? It's Anthony from #BetheChange. Truth will set you free, and you are watching Truth Tuesdays right now. We've got the usual crew, the man meat, not the menstrual meat from Barb, and I'm not going to call KSOC that because I don't think I know her well enough yet. But we, of course, our straight white male group, and of course KSOC, who I believe is most likely straight, except for maybe a dabble in college. I don't know her well enough. I don't know.
Wow.
KSOC, you've been on the show one time before. Before I get into what we're talking about on today's episode, go and reintroduce yourself to those that have not seen it, and everybody out there, please do us a favor, break the algorithm, share the episode.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on again. It's an absolute pleasure. I am Kristen. I go by KSOC. My handle is KSOC Uncensored on most platforms. I live in the Portland, Oregon area, so I'm deep behind enemy lines here. One of the only truth tellers in this part of the country. And married to a police officer and just fighting the good fight here in the Northwest.
Love it. Love it. Today's episode is going to be a good one. We're going to get into a couple things. We're going to let people join. I see we're up to close to 20 right now. Rose, thanks for sharing it. Nikki, hello. Let's go ahead and keep sharing it and just help us break the algorithm. And go ahead and put where you're watching from, anything that maybe you want to see us talk about at the end of the episode. Once we get through our topics, do that for us, share us.
Love it.
Let's see what we got. We've got today's episode. We are talking about the urinals in LAX that just so happen to be presented as though they were in the new woman's bathroom. We're going to talk. The whole point of this show, Barb's idea, was to switch it to let's separate fact from fiction. So we're going to go into that a little bit. I see all the comments coming in. Thanks, guys. We're going to talk about the Chinese spy balloon. And we're going to talk about that and how they are now currently getting it up from the ocean, because that seemed like a good idea. The Oversight Committee tomorrow goes hard on Hunter Biden as they look at Hunter Biden's laptop, finally, with some Twitter executives, and the State of the Union preview. And that's what we got going on in this hour. Al, you can suck a bag of Cheetos. That's what I'm just going to say. Casey, what's going on in your world before we get officially started?
Not much, man. Just I have to say I enjoyed this weekend with all of the air balloon stuff. The memes were hilarious. Yeah. Our government was a joke, but the memes were hilarious.
Speaking of the memes, Dave, how's your Facebook treating you?
Oh, it's great. It's great.
We're going to get into that a little bit when we talk about the balloon and the fact that you can't even make a joke if it is at the behest of the Hunter Biden family.
Yeah. Never had my account restricted before. That was a first.
I've never had I've had the Facebook truth page. I've had it demonetized. I've had the algorithm shrinked. I have not been one of those offenders of Facebook. One time I got put in a 1-day jail because I called a guy a hoe. KSOC, please hold. The guy's last name was Ho. Asian guy, and I got a 24-hour ban for saying you're such a hoe. It was a play on words, and apparently the algorithm didn't quite.
We're gonna get into that, right? So
yeah, we'll get into that. That's pretty much the gist, guys. Before we get into the episode, please do us a favor. I'm gonna put it on the bottom as we've been talking about a lot. I talked about it in the syndicate today. Please join the Great American Syndicate. It is literally $4.99 a month. That is it, and it is
for now.
For now, good time to say that. For now, we're trying to build the community. It is being a part of something bigger than yourself. The ticket pricing for the Great American Summit is already now up to official pricing, and our final pricing, which is $147 per ticket. Go get it as soon as you possibly can. Great American Syndicate members, there's probably going to be a special for you. We have confirmed that Chad Prather is one of our speakers. That is something we're publicizing. He will be there June 2nd and 3rd, one of those days. Chad O'Jackson and I had a great conversation this week. He's probably going to be speaking as well. We've got Larry Broughton, some other great speakers. That's greatamericansummit.com. But please, guys, Great American Syndicate, $4.99 a month. It's free for the first 15 days. Give it a shot. See if you want to be a part of a growing community that is like-minded patriots. There's a lot of inner circles, a lot of things out there. There's not a lot that is about patriotism and business and community all into one. It is about being a part of something bigger than yourself. So check that out. And we still have in the high 80s of the lifetime memberships for Great American Great American Syndicate, which is $797. And that gets you 2 VIP tickets to this year's event. All right, moving on. Last thing, I want to give a shout out to my special lady friend, aka my girlfriend, who just won at Rapid City. She tied with the best time, and she is now ranked 10th in the world for
And go just like that. Russo cuts out.
In the world for what?
Barrel racing.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
What
So
happened?
I don't know what happened to you, Russo, but you cut out. See what happens?
What is going on right now? That is super weird. I'm hardwired.
This is
I
so Russo from like a year ago.
I know.
Flashbacks.
No bueno. No bueno at all. Anyway,
It looks like you're coming back now.
yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's still showing a low signal, even though I've got fiber here. All right, that just means Anthony shut the F up. Let's get the show started. What are you saying? And on this episode, we've got the urinals at LAX. We've got the spy balloon, Chinese spy balloon oversight committee with Hunter Biden's laptop State of the Union preview. Let's get the show started with, let's go Baroon. Let's go Chinese spy Baroon, just because I feel like doing the voice earlier than late. It's one of the things that I do love about Steven Crowder is the way that he does Xi Jinping. Oh, welcome to my country. I don't let my people do anything. All right. So there is so many different versions, and I want to first lead this off with who knows what the truth is. And I will be very clear. I don't think we will ever know what this Chinese spy balloon was all about. We're going to know what they have told us, plain and simple. If you have a thought, put it in the comments. What do you think this was a Chinese spy balloon? Do you think we should have shot it down early, late, whatever? Dave, I'm going to start with you. Give your thoughts on the whole 4 days over the continental United States, traversing on top of Montana, all the things. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I know for one, this has never, ever happened before, right? And as soon as it happened, like over the last few days, right, we automatically see the spin in full effect with, once again, liberals, Democrats, their instant rebuttal is something to do with Trump. Right. So under Trump's administration, there was supposedly 3 other spy balloons. Right. And then it turns out, then they backtracked and said, well, that's not necessarily the case. Trump didn't know about it. We only found out after his administration left, all these things. Right. So they keep changing their story about it. But they are saying that there was 3 other ones, but they were briefly along the coast. Like they didn't fly over the country for a week. Like the entire, like it was like 5-7 days and went from Alaska, Canada, came down the West Coast, all the way across our breadbasket in the Midwest to the East Coast. Like that has never happened before. That's, an invasion on our sovereignty. I think it should have been shot down immediately. It should have been shot down over Alaska. It should have been shot down over Montana. And they're like, oh, we don't want it to hurt people. Montana is literally in wide open space. The chances of it hitting somebody's house or whatever are probably slim to none. And then the other side of it is like he shoots it down after it did its job. Right. So it went across the whole country. It was flying over our military installations, yada, 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 gets all the way to the East Coast. Then it's like, now let's take it down. So it's just, I think he just completely dropped the ball and blew it. But what else?
I feel like Joe Biden is like still living in 1952 and they can't transmit information. And people are still thinking that way. They've blinded people like, oh, well, the Chinese spy balloon didn't make it home. We shot it down in the water. It's not like they couldn't transmit images and what they needed the whole damn time. And
Anthony, is anyone surprised? Right. I mean, Obama was quoted as saying, don't underestimate the ability of Joe Biden to fuck things up. Right. Look at what happened in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Complete debacle. Like
right.
No surprise. Right. Is this a surprise to anyone? Like it's just a constant theme with this man and his administration. And I don't know. Like I hope the American people are fed up.
KSOC, do you think? Do you think that they're being honest about the fact that so this is one thing they said, and you can give your full opinion on it too, but they said that they made sure that there was no way that they were of danger to the United States. Once they knew that, they let it just fly its course and then gracefully shoot it down over the ocean. Do you believe that?
Oh, no, not for a minute. Yeah, so it's pretty wild. I agree. It should have been shot down immediately, but I'm going to go even further and say that the U.S. knew, I feel like the government, the Biden administration, they knew that this was going to happen. I'm just going to go there. And they were just taking orders from China, let it fly across the country. And then, like you said, Dan, the job's done. Now you have the ability to shoot it down. And now the front is that China's mad. China mad, right? So they're mad now that it's been shot down. They're saying it was an overreaction, that this is a civilian-owned weather balloon. I don't know if you saw that. That's their most recent. It's a weather balloon, civilian-owned, unmanned. It was no threat. So no, they don't tell the truth about any of that.
What you don't know, I was trying to get weather data, and you shoot down my balloon. I was going to help you from global warming. It was a climate control balloon. Balloon. I can fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that all of a sudden they've added stories, like Dave said, and like you just said, they did add today or late last night. Also, not only was there 3 times during Trump's presidency, there was also another time at the beginning of Biden's presidency that a balloon went over the continental U.S. We just didn't talk about it.
Yeah, no. Well, nobody reported seeing it during the Trump administration. So that's one big difference there. It's like, that's such BS. It wasn't even there. If it was, it wasn't even a thing. So
yeah, that's a great point, because how many people actually saw it with the naked eye this time, right? I mean, there's people are shooting video of it. Like, what is that? Numerous people. Like, if this actually happened across America in the past, people would have saw it.
Right. And my producer actually saw when he was flying. He's a pilot, was flying at 30,000 feet, and the balloon was at 50,000 feet. So he saw it up there in the sky and said it was massive. So it's like, it was incredibly visible. Why would they have done it during the Trump administration with tiny little balloons, right? Like, that's the only way we wouldn't have seen them. So it's just such BS.
And we also keep talking about the fact that it's the size of 3 Greyhound buses, which is actually not telling the whole story. That's the size of the satellite, not the balloon. Because and people, again, we don't think logically as an American people, unfortunately, which is why we're able to hook, line, and sinker believe the fact, like, oh, they said it happened during Trump's tenure, even though you've got the highest level of security saying we never were told about it, which you would think they'd hear about a gigantic balloon. But the satellite alone is the size of 3 school buses, which, again, and I'll go to Casey to close to talk a little bit more about this one. We have said that we had to shoot it down in the water for safety purposes. As Dave said, there's 1 million acres that we could have shot this down safely. It would have killed grub worms, for God's sakes, and it would have had no effect on it. They said that the ocean, they were able to specifically get it in a certain area so they could create a collection area. If you're able to be specific in the ocean, why would you not be able to be specific over the continental United States as well? I also think it's ridiculous that we think it's easier to find shit at the bottom of the ocean than it is to find in a large field. And they're like, well, it would do more damage hitting the ground. You just blew it up with a fucking missile.
Yeah.
Casey, yeah, go ahead.
No, you're right. But here's the thing. We're talking about the U.S. government here, and I'm going to change this up a little bit. Everybody's blaming Biden. Biden definitely has some accountability in it. Don't get me wrong. I blame our entire U.S. government. Our entire U.S. government failed on this. There are so many checks and balances that are put in place that could have taken action on this without Biden's sign-off. We didn't need Joe Biden to execute and do something against the balloon. They could have called, Congress could have called and taken action on their own. There is an avenue that the generals and the military could have done it because it is an unknown flying object in our airspace. We could have done something. We don't need to act as a dictatorship and only have Joe Biden sign off to do something. On top of that, if you are looking at the U.S. government to figure out a way to take this down and not cause harm, they are the worst people to do this. They've been saying for decades, you cannot reuse a rocket with NASA. What did Elon Musk do? He reused a rocket and he figured out how to shoot a rocket in the air and pinpoint where it lands to be able to reuse it. And then he developed a way to make it land softly and where he wanted it. So if you want something done right, never look to the government, give it to the private industry and other people to do it, and they'll be able to pinpoint where that will fall without hurting anybody. We didn't have to let it scan our entire country and get it, whatever information it was gathering, and send it back and then shoot it down.
Well, Casey, they've said, the CDC has told us that you can't. So you're talking about reusing a rocket. The CDC has said we can't reuse condoms either. So is that a lie?
Yes.
That would save some money. I'm just saying. Okay, so the other issue behind this is just like anything having to do with Hunter Biden. We're seeing, and Dave is a perfect example of this. If you share a photo of a penis covered, he's not exposing anything, of Hunter Biden, the crackhead heard round the world, just so happened to be the president's son, and this will lead us into the next story. If you shared the photo of him holding the balloons and flying, that's enough to get a ban on Facebook. What did they tell you? What was the actual censorship warning that they gave you, Dave?
Oh, just it goes against their community standards, right? That's it.
What?
The image, I guess, the image of a man in his underwear, because you go on Instagram, which is owned by Meta, Facebook, and there's basically nude women. There's, dudes in their banana hangers on the beach. Like, how is this any different? Like, come on. It was just ridiculous. Like, it's just clearly it's political, because we talked about this before we started. If that was Donald Trump or Don Jr. hanging from those balloons in his, in his skivvies, like, they would have let it pass, no problem. They probably would have boosted it.
They would have let Donald Trump be hung by the balloons, dying naked, and they would have pushed the algorithm on that. I guarantee you. K-Sock, have you ever been temporarily banned from any of the social media platforms?
Oh, yes, all the time. Primarily YouTube and TikTok. I don't even do TikTok anymore because it's all China. But yes, and I've been shadow banned for like 2 years on Instagram. So absolutely.
I met K-Sock. We'll have to talk after. Well, your Instagram, both you and Dave have the algorithm down. Even though you've been shadow banned, your Instagram is doing really, really well right now. Kudos to Dave too, because I just took like a mini phone call boot camp with the head of the frontline nurses, who, by the way, she's a badass. She's awesome. And she's literally helping small truthers. She helped me for free to figure out a little bit more of the cheat codes on the algorithm. And do you know how to check? Do either of you guys know how to check your account health? You have to go through like 3 different settings in Instagram to see what level you're at, essentially.
No, I've never looked at that.
So I posted something about black on black crime, shame on me, related to the police situation with Tyree. And it gave me it removed the post, and immediately my reach shattered down. Like, there was no algorithmic spread except for the people that were my own followers. I was able to look at that. So she talked me through it, and there's certain things to target and avoid. And it's very, very interesting if you look at the ways to goose the algorithm a bit. And it's interesting to know how, shadow bans are real. The left doesn't want to believe that, but shadow bans are absolutely real. So Dave, now that you've got banned for a week, you're actually, or however long it is, you're actually going to have a algorithmic hammer in front of you for probably about 3 to 4 months, which sucks.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's brutal. Yeah. And the main thing, the only reason, so I used to have it to where you would search for KSOC and I wouldn't even show up until you've entered my entire handle. And so it was like that for almost 2 years since people started telling me that that's how it was. And so then I actually wrote them and used some legal jargon and they lifted that. So now you can actually find me. So for 2 years, I didn't even realize that you couldn't even search and find me in the system.
So I'm curious if this is true, because all of you know David Harris Jr., right?
Yeah.
Right. Do you follow him on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. So I follow him too. And I check in on him regularly. But if you go to your search, and you put in his name doesn't pop up if you put David Harris Jr.
Yes, that's what happened.
Even though you're following him, you have to literally go deeper and put, you said, put his middle initial in there, and then it'll come up.
That is so funny that you bring that up because I met him at CPAC and I was just having a conversation. I'm like, yeah, what is his name? And I didn't know his middle initial was part of his handle. Same thing. I couldn't even find him until my husband remembered his middle initial.
Yeah.
So he's completely shadow banned also, even at 1 million followers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ian Wentz was the same way. I don't know if he still is that way. Ian Wentz, you cannot find him unless you spell the whole name correctly the way that it is from Patriot Gear.
This is all known and was exposed by Twitter files at the very beginning, and it was called visibility filtering. That's how they did it.
Yeah.
Which all silenced all of that. And so all of these platforms will have their own version of it. It's going to happen. Twitter will be the only one to slowly evolve out of that for right now. The rest of them will keep doing it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Wait, so this is going to go into now the oversight committee. So oversight committee tomorrow on February 8th, depending on when you're listening to this, they are finally meeting with 3 Twitter executives, bringing them in, former Twitter executives that are essentially whistleblowers, talking about what was done in terms of squashing the reach of the Hunter Biden, not squashing the reach, completely and utterly censoring it. And part of me is, and I never liked the conversation of it being a private entity, so they're allowed to do what they want because they do control the public square. They control media, which in our country has to be allowed to open up, even though it is semi-private. It's publicly owned though because it's a publicly owned company. I would almost be okay if they censored and said they were censoring and saying, look, we don't believe that this is our belief system, so we are going to choose to make it harder for conservatives. If they say that out loud, at least the left knows that they're censoring. Instead, people from the left look at us like we're absolutely insane. That's my one thought on that. But the big thing is tomorrow they're finally going to go through and try to investigate and hammer these people on. Was it the DOJ? Was it the FBI? Who was it that lied blatantly to the country? We know Biden did. You have to know Biden knew. And when he was campaigning.
No, but we already know the truth. Like they revealed it in the Twitter files that the FBI and the DOJ were involved in censoring the story. Like I want to know. I want one of those people to question them and say, how does it feel good that you basically interfered in an election?
So what do you think we're going to get out of this? Finally, this is being discussed in Congress, in the House. What do you think we're going to get out of it, KSOC?
Oh, I'm not hopeful. I guess for me, it's like, that's great. It's been so long and we've been let down so many times. I'm glad it's getting to this level, but I'm not hopeful on the outcome.
Casey, what do you think?
Nothing will happen, just like the January 6th committee, just like the 9/11 commission, just like all of the investigations that are put on by the government. Last time they tried to investigate anything with tech, it was horrible. They couldn't even talk about how things are done on the internet. They barely even could tell you what the internet was. So how are they going to properly investigate this? Yeah, they're not going to be able to.
Valid. And I don't know why I don't like to go back on things, but I just remembered the one thing that I forgot to talk about with the balloon. I don't know why it came up. We forgot to mention that now they have just started saying that there was potentially explosives in the balloon. That's why they didn't shoot it down over the continental United States. They literally can make up, and that's why we're never going to know. And again, this even goes into the Hunter Biden story. They can literally make up anything that they want to, and the people of this country will just say, okay, sounds
They
good.
just classify it. And that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
So if that was true, Anthony,
I'm playing along.
Right, playing along. If that was true, so that means that Joe Biden and the Pentagon let China decide when that balloon would come down or not come down over the continental United States.
Right.
Talk about like crazy, right?
That's what I think happened.
It's very odd. It's already a screwed up story as is, just the same as the Hunter Biden laptop. All of it is screwed up. But the fact that they can dictate with the American mind, especially the American left, I'll talk shit about Republicans, Democrats, politicians alike. I'll even talk about the fact that some Republican voters have a little bit too much going on in their head, and the Democrats, I disagree with. But what I can say for certain is that Democrats believe the media at such a high level. They will believe the media tooth and nail far more than today's modern conservative. And this is perfect evidence of it. The Hunter Biden laptop story being squashed when there is a laptop with photos, with phone calls and audio, and they go ahead and just allow it to be suppressed and saying it's Russian disinformation. What did Russia make a deep fake that's literally 3 laptops big? I don't understand how we've become so brainwashed as a society. That's my big question.
Well, with whether it's going to make a difference or not, or whether anything's going to come out of these hearings, I guess there's a couple points. I think some like a broader like scope could come out of it, meaning like it gives all of us who've been talking about this for the last 2 years saying it was real some credibility, right? What's not going to get shown and why it won't go anywhere is because the media is not going to cover it. It's only going to be Fox and Newsmax and all those outlets. You're not going to see it in the New York Times. I mean, maybe you slowly start to see drips and drabs of them, going after the administration and things like that, because I don't think they actually want on the run again. So maybe you'll see some reporting on it. But I think it actually gives credibility to the fact that, hey, this was real. This was suppressed. And maybe, just maybe, it'll avoid from something like this happening, again.
I'm going to play positive Pete on this one. And I'm actually going to think that this is the beginning of an awakening in terms of this situation with Biden, not because all of a sudden they're doing the right thing. It's because of the fact that Democrats don't want Joe Biden to run either. So therefore, this is going to be some kind of smear campaign. I think the byproduct of this, the positive byproduct, is that our country might start to be able to have decent conversation again and realize, maybe it wasn't perfect. But at the same time, the Democrats don't want Biden to run. Right now, Kamala Harris, there was an article today or yesterday in not the Hill, what's the Insider, Business Insider, ultra left, wicked boy band left, talking about the fact that Kamala Harris had Democrats sent on her behalf to talk positive for her. Democrats from the Hill that literally on the download to the New York Times reported it, talking about the fact they've lost faith in Kamala for being the leader of the party. So therefore, they're going to have to go to Gavin Newsom or whatever the left has left. But you're seeing the previews of the left and the media leaving behind Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, in my honest opinion.
Do you guys think that this is a precursor to a beginning of a war?
With who? China?
Doesn't matter. Do you think this is a precursor to entering a war?
I will say Kim Jong-un Il. Which one's the one that's still alive? Kim Jong current?
Un is in North Korea. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Jong-un.
Un. He actually just kind of woke up from hiding yesterday and did a kind of a press conference with his people saying it's time to prepare for war. I thought that was very interesting. So I don't know. To answer your question, Casey, I have no idea. I'd like to hope not, but who knows?
Well, K-Sock, what do you think?
I've thought that we were on the verge for 2 years now, and nothing's come to fruition. So I think we're inching closer and closer every day.
Okay. Dave?
It's a tough one, like you could see that it could be plausible that could absolutely happen. China has, a doctrine that they plan on taking over the world's economy by 2035, 2040. If Joe Biden is bought and paid for and China has him over a barrel, and things are going their way now, if something comes in to disrupt that, I could see them getting more aggressive. The whole thing with Taiwan is going to be interesting. So I don't know. I guess for me, it's like 50-50. Sadly, I sincerely hope not.
Let me explain why I posed that question. So the thing that's interesting about using these balloons, and part of this was covered on Tim Pool last night, which made me think, and I was doing some research, but balloons can travel, especially these balloons that have quite a bit of resiliency with them. They can travel up to like 130,000 feet or 100,000 feet. And at that high, you are out of reach of a lot of things. You are very out of reach of a lot of things. And if you go back and look in history, this is not the first time this has ever occurred. It is the first time in recent history that has occurred.
Right.
Japan dropped bombs on America in 1945 via balloons. killed 5 people in Oregon.
Really?
Yes.
Technically
if you were-
7, but but yes.
Oh, 7?
Yeah, 5 kids and 1 pregnant woman.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And that was another case of the government covering it up. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened.
Otherwise, we might know about it also, by the way.
Right.
Yes.
I've never heard that before.
So if you go back and look at history always repeats itself, right? And that's what I'm looking at is they were talking about how high balloons can fly, or I don't know if you even call it fly, but float around Earth. They are able to reach this extreme height that is out of the airspace that we can even reach with most of our military, I would assume. So this puts us in grave danger if we don't want to execute to remove a threat that is in our country and it is visible within eyesight. What will they do with something that's a lot higher and want to cause some harm? That's why I posed that question.
It's interesting. Yeah, I can see that. It could have been what you would consider a dry run, per se. I love K-Sock. Are you trying to adjust your light?
What the heck? It's like, I don't know what is going on. I don't have a window open. It's like, I feel like it's China.
Careful.
I don't know what's
It's
happening.
the balloon.
It's flying
It's
a balloon above you right now.
I just turned off like every light in my room.
Yeah,
So
but-
I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to steal the show with this giant like sunbeam here.
It's going away. Xi Jinping.
Oh, there we go.
There,
Okay, sorry.
there, you figured it out.
You are good.
So Casey, you know, my perspective on that, and this is like the conspiracy theory, you know, with the World Economic Forum, Global Reset, New World Order, all this stuff, right? The one person who was the biggest threat to all of that was Donald J. Trump.
Facts.
And so, you know, the fact that he's no longer there, it's like lines up the dominoes perfectly for them. And if someone comes in to try to disrupt that, this is why they're going to do whatever they can not to have someone come in to disrupt that. I mean, that's my personal belief. I think this is all driven by the global market, by greed, by money, by big pharma, by companies like BlackRock, all the above.
He needed to be taken out, plain and simple. And
just to add to that, Dave, what doesn't normally happen in time of war? Change of presidency. So if you ever have a war begin during an election year, do you actually go through with an election and change your president?
Oh, if Biden's president during something like that, you better rest assured there's probably going to be another freaking storm on the Capitol.
Yeah, that'd be.
I might get banned for that one too.
I also think if China, and this is me being honest, if there is a war waged right now, and it does involve China against the United States, an intellectual war mixed with whatever other armed forces war, I do believe that there is a better than 5% chance. I'm not going to say it's more than 50-50, a chance that we become the United States of CCP. In all reality, I don't think we've got the ability to counter the intelligence that China has. I don't. And Kevin's a perfect example. When Kevin used to be on the show as an intelligence officer in the armed forces, in the military, he could tell you that our data, our information, our technology is so far behind some of these other countries.
This is interesting. I just saw the Michael Seifert. He's the CEO of Public Square. He was just on Dropping Bombs with Brad Lee, the podcast. And he was talking about how during our revolution and how we, left the grasp of Great Britain, all that only 30% wanted to actually fight for our independence. Another 30% was actually for Britain and still wanted to be under their thumb. And another 40% just didn't care, right? Because they were living their life. Right. And I'm like, man, isn't that still relevant today, right? There's 30% who are willing to fight for this country and its freedoms and what it represents. There's probably another 30% in our government, in our military, in society that is like pro-globalism, pro-China. And then there's the majority who simply don't care, don't want to be bothered.
And I mean, that poses the exact question that we're talking about, all this. Casey, don't worry about the picture I just sent you. I was sending it because I needed to download it real quick because I think that's part of the next question. All right. First off, Teresa, thank you. Give you a shout out. Thanks for dropping that 20 in there. Appreciate you more than you know. With probably a good time to also mention some of our sponsors by saying that the way that we don't actually pay for the show because, well, we don't make enough, but we do a little. We got a little bit coming in, and thank you to Teresa for that. Make sure you check out our gear at awakenotwokestore.com. Use Awake for 15% off. That is in the scroll on the bottom. We also, of course, as I said before, try greatamericansyndicate.com. Go ahead and give us a shot for $4.99 a month. You get 15 days for free. And last but not least, I know you guys love the Dr. Ardis Show supplements. Go to thedrardisshow.com. Use my other code BFD from the Big F and Deal Show, aka Blunt Force Discussion, at checkout for 10% off. I know a lot of you guys use those products as well. And I do have to give a shout out to Tony Van Schoik, who sent me a whole bunch of new hair stuff. I use all the Monat for my shampoo stuff, but she sent me the clinicals. She always hooks me up. So I want to make sure Tony Van Schoik gets a shout out. At one point, I'm going to have the fullest head of hair, and I'm going to say thank you, Tony. And
I'm using the same product. It's like amazing. It's working so good.
Is that what's happening down there? All right. Let's talk about the next item, which I was thinking about having KSOC do it, but because I know I saw your video on it, but I didn't want to set you up with the trap. And this is where sometimes there is some juicy stuff. Like all of it seems like bait sometimes. So there is the go ahead, Casey. Do you want to throw up that picture real quick? There's video going out there, just in the brand, not the one this one. I got it. Never mind. This one. Sorry, my bad. Urinals at LAX in the woman's bathroom is the big story. KSOC, I know you did a little video on this one. So there is actually no evidence that this is being put in the woman's bathroom. They are doing a full, this is where, we've seen hundreds of influencers do this. It felt too good to be true in terms of making a story out of it. But it turns out that they're renovating the whole wing at LAX and there's no information yet. It could be, but there's no information on whether or not this is just going to be a men's bathroom or not. So that's what I have. KSOC, you can prove me wrong. Have you heard something different than I did regarding this urinal build?
I dove into it, and not literally, but I was looking into just urinals in women's rooms. Now, I was trying to debunk it before I even did a video, and my video was literally, I asked my dad, who's 73, his opinion, because we like to laugh at just the ridiculousness going on. Basically, in Europe, there are a lot of countries in Europe that do have urinals in the women's restroom. And I've seen people arguing that point. The difference is those are set up for squatting and they do have barriers between. This clearly is a men's urinal. And, even if it is going to be a men's restroom, the thing with that is we already know that urinals are going in women's bathrooms across the country. I live here in Oregon, and actually, for those who are not familiar, last year they ended up the governor at the time passed something where we're spending $500,000 to equip every single boys' bathroom throughout the Oregon school district, every school district in Oregon, with tampon dispensers. That's in boys' restrooms, tampon dispensers. So for me, I don't go, no way, that couldn't happen. I'm like, it probably is. It's probably legit, because it's just so ass backwards right now. So the video I did was more of a joke, just asking my dad his opinion. But
that's an epic pun that you just did without knowing, because you're literally talking about the tampons in the men's bathrooms. And really the only place that you can stick those son of a bitches is backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't understand. So this story, I understand why we potentially took the bait or whatever it is, because we have seen so many ridiculous things coming out there, but I'm starting to think that this is one gigantic troll fest and that they know what they're doing. I think everybody nobody watched the Grammys probably in this group, but I think everybody saw the performance at the Grammys by Sam Smith, which I just showed the video of him being the devil. And then of course, following it up with the Pfizer commercial, like saying this is sponsored by Pfizer. It's like, at this point, I think they're fucking with conservatives, being like, look, the media is still thinking you guys are the crazy ones, so we're just going to keep fucking with you. That's my opinion. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think they're fucking with us. I think they're I think they're literally crazy and insane and evil. And the end. That's all I got.
Well, they say the greatest trick the devil ever played was making the world believe that he didn't exist. And the fact that they can have back-to-back years at the Grammys. They can have what's the one guy that used to be like the kids? He was
Nas X.
Yeah, Lil Nas X, grinding on the devil, all devil stuff, and then you could have this having back-to-back years. This is the first time that they're saying a non-binary trans person won an award. You've got
two biological males.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So here's the other interesting thing. And I did a thing. I was doing a job where I was doing these interviews with celebrities where people got to go in. I was moderating, and it was me and about 7 super fans of, and I'm not a super fan of Sam Smith. I was the moderator, and Sam Smith coming in the room, and all of them were actually, I think 5 of the 7 were gay, and it was a very nice moment. And it was very difficult because I had to call Sam they, because I was, just doing my job, and that's fine. He was the nicest guy on the planet. He was not the guy that I saw in that music video, which this was 2.5 years ago, pre-COVID, whatever it was. To me, there's this weird shift happening in people like Machine Gun Kelly, Sam Smith, even. Like, I could never have seen that be the same person. There's just something very weird about it. And
you see the other video where he's like getting peed on?
Yep. Yeah, I did a video about that one. K-Sock, have you seen this video?
No, I have not.
I've
not had the pleasure.
Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and keep talking. I want to push. I have a photo of the exact scene that he's talking about. I'm sending it to Casey again, right? It's so insane.
The videos were just weird.
Oh my god.
My bigger issue is with that video than anything else. And it's such the imagery with the colors and all the things. It's just a little odd to me. So as I'm pulling this picture up, the one thing I want to talk about also is actually, Casey, you're the one that brought it up while we're on this topic. Talk about the what did you call it? The
January 6th event happened yesterday.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There are a whole bunch of trans rights. Yeah.
Can't make this shit up. Can't make it up.
Right. That's I said the same thing when I realized that today. I was like, whoa. That did happen on the 6th. Anyways, a whole bunch of trans rights activists went to the Capitol and had an insurrection at the Oklahoma Capitol yesterday.
They were in, correct? They were in the Capitol. Yeah.
A whole bunch of them, all yelling, "Trans lives matter," even though it sounds like trains lives matter, but we know they're not complaining about trains. But it's all over. What was their bill? It's left me now. What did they just change? Oklahoma.
You're changing something. Yeah, go ahead and look that up. I think there was a sign that really made me laugh that said, "We have to do it for our survival," or something like that. And I'm like,
it is.
Yeah, technically. They were changing it to where you cannot, I believe you have to be 24 or 26 years old. Yeah.
Gender reassignment surgery, you cannot have it until you're over the age of 26.
Well, that's ridiculous.
It's excessive in my mind.
Do you think it should be 18, Dave?
Yeah, when you're an adult.
Yeah. I'm actually going to agree with that. I didn't know that. You know what? I would have gone and marched with them.
You want to take your hand off or lob your leg off, but go at it. You're 18. You're an adult. Do whatever the hell you want. That's as long as you're not breaking the law and hurting anyone else. Go for it.
I can't believe I'm agreeing with the crazy liberals on this one.
But who's paying for these surgeries? That's my question, because I'm fiscally.
Anything under 18 should be illegal.
Yes,
and be treated as unlawfully dealing with a minor.
Let's poll our audience. We've got a decent amount of people watching, because now that I know that that's the change. First off, I think it's comical that they stormed the Capitol in Oklahoma and did everything. There's a lot to that. There's a lot to unpack, but I do think that they might have something there, because they're adults. If they're paying for their surgeries or their insurance, if it covers it, that's a whole different topic. Do you think they should be allowed to cut off the old twig and berries, or do whatever they do? If I'm gonna stand with those activists. You could bet your ass I would not be there with them, but I'm gonna go and stand with them.
But it's not even up for debate.
It's because they're an adult. They're allowed to do it. And
it's not even like it shouldn't be posed as a question. Like, what do you think? Like, no, we already know what the answer is based on like our laws as a nation. Like they legally have the right to do that.
What makes 26 the age? Like it's such an arbitrary number.
Yeah, it's so weird, right?
Why not make it? I mean, it's dumb. Okay, so let me show this photo. So I'm gonna give the backstory to the video. If you don't watch it, I don't know what the name of the damn song is, nor do I encourage you to listen to it, but you should check out the YouTube because holy shit, this is happening in our world. So it's this weird song with Sam Smith wearing really awkward women's clothing. They, look at me being politically correct. He was walking through the door and there's a scene with like a bunch of dancers in front of him all wearing like buttless pants. And then there's urinals that these men are not wearing butts, but it looks as though they're peeing in the urinal and then water starts squirting up from the urinals. I'm not fucking kidding. This is not Babylon B. And this is where it ends up.
Ew. Lots of bad things about that picture. I might be more concerned with the corset with the fat man boobs hanging over.
No, please note there's pasties right there too. He's wearing little pasty things.
I'm so glad he's covered his nipples. Then I would be offended.
This is literally the biggest, like, this is, again, I feel like they're trolling us. I feel like it's a fucking joke. Like, this is something, this is something, what's that movie with Russell Brand where he's the lead singer of the band? And they have like these songs with these ridiculous music videos. We literally have a non-binary whatever guy wearing puffy nipple pasties in a corset with this weird underwear getting peed on by a bunch of dudes. And this isn't a fucking joke.
Well, he's the joke. You can't be non-binary. It's not reality. It's not real. It's not real.
Aaron makes a good point over here that basically if peeing on someone is being normalized, let R. Kelly out.
Well,
hey, we're not saying having sexual relationships with a 13-year-old.
Well, who knows what Sam's doing?
That's the thing that brings up Dave's previous point. If it's 18 or over, you want to get pissed on by R. Kelly, that's totally up to you. But you know,
yes.
Under 18 is a different story.
If R. Kelly was in California, he'd be all right.
I've always felt that people who think they're non-binary are raising their hand for attention. Like, hey, look at me. I'm non-binary. Yes. Pay attention to me, right? And if you look at his actions with the ridiculous outfits that he wears and the performances that he does and the video that he does, it's exactly what he's doing. Look at me. I want to be the center of attention. I need your attention to make me feel better about myself.
Yeah.
Oh,
he got exactly what he wanted.
It's an interesting point.
Oh, the parents' health insurance. Interesting.
Yeah. Is that the same in all states, though?
No. I don't know. But then why can't they pay out of pocket? I don't know. I'm done with
it. Doesn't matter. Over the age of 18, you can do whatever the hell you want.
They're not going to have pockets anymore.
Except drink alcohol.
Yeah.
And legally.
Well, you should still be able to, but still.
I don't want to sound like a bigot or anything either. Like, you want to be, if you're gay, great. Be who you want to be. But I'm like non-binary. Like you have to draw it's not real. Like, it's just, that's like where I draw the line.
What do they say? There is 27 different genders or whatever.
Oh, come
on.
300. There's.
Oh, is it? It's some astronomical number now. Great.
Okay, so we're going to talk real quick, preview the State of the Union, then we're going to wrap the show up. We've got about 12 more minutes in the hour. So State of the Union tonight with Joe Biden. I talked about it on radio in Cleveland or Cincinnati earlier today. I encourage you guys, there's two options for you to watch tonight. I would either watch Bobby Sauce, the Sauce of the Union, or watch our boy Chad Prather. He's going to be on the Blaze with a bunch of those guys. Watch one of those two. I'm sure it's going to be fun and interesting. That's where I will be watching. I'll probably watch the actual State of the Union, then I'll watch their recap. Who wants to go first? What do you think we're going to hear tonight? I'm sure it's already written. I'm sure it's already more. There's definitely nothing off the cuff tonight. What do you guys think we're going to hear? Who wants it? Who wants it first? Nobody. Casey, you unmuted. You're up.
All right. Well, we're going to hear the same old stuff from Joe Biden. He's going to blame everything on Donald Trump. He's going to blame everything on MAGA Republicans and say that, oh, these are not your grandparents' Republicans. And he's going to come out and just do all of the same stuff, super divisive, nothing productive. It's just going to be 100% accusatory, and have no valid facts. It's going to be a lot of lies.
So I think he's going to lean heavy into the economy because right now in the last month, what's that?
He has to.
Right. And right now we're showing the job growth of 507 or something thousand in the month of January. We are now officially this month surpassed the low unemployment rate during Trump's administration. He knows people will hook, line, and sinker believe the fact that these are all job creation instead of just putting it. We are officially back to Trump's baseline. I actually will give a small percentage of credit to the administration, to our government, because of the fact that we are at least at that point. And I know for a fact, my business included, doesn't have enough employees. So there is room for growth. Somehow the stock market, which I thought would implode after the midterms, I will call myself out on this one, has gone up over the last couple of months. There is rumors that people feel it's stabilized enough on an economic side that are even Republicans that have said maybe it's stabilized already. The Fed has already leveled off, tapered off. There's a lot of good things happening in the economy, which to me, if he was genuine and smart, he would avoid the divisive statements and he would lean into the only positives that he has. For somebody's economy that's doing where we're at right now, it is unheard of to have that low of an approval rating. And that's because he is a raging dementia-ridden piece of shit. And so is the rest of his administration.
But that's not it, though. It's the affordability.
Thank you. Well, go ahead. I'll let you. I didn't want to. Go ahead. There is
affordability. I'm less concerned about what he's going to say and more concerned about what he's going to avoid, like the southern border, fentanyl, inflation, his classified documents, Hunter Biden, his son, how he is the most compromised president in United States history, how he is literally the biggest national security threat that our country faces, our sitting president. Like, you're not going to hear any of that. No, you're going to hear a bunch of garbage. It's going to set him up for his announcement that he's going to run again, which I don't think he'll end up being the nominee.
Think we'll hear him announce it tonight, Dave?
Huh?
Do you think we'll hear him announce it during the State of the Union that he'll be running against?
I don't think he will, no.
You don't think so?
I think he's got too much garbage hanging over his head right now. He's got to kind of let the dust settle before he does that. And I don't think has any president ever announced that at the State of the Union?
Has any president ever said "we the people" means the government at the State of the Union?
I don't know. I like to see Kevin McCarthy rip up his speech.
So the interview that I did earlier, because I don't want anybody to duplicate Nancy Pelosi, because that chick, no, that's a no. But do you know what would be epic? Is if he had a little white balloon and he just let it go at the end of
No. Stop. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is already going around the internet with a white balloon walking around the Capitol building.
I only say that because I like to see Democrats in a spot where they can't like rebuttal, like they can't say anything. Yeah. Like, look, Nancy did it, so it must be okay.
Exactly.
I think it's wrong. Obviously, it's classless and it's no place for it. And in that environment, like it's disrespectful, but
and I want to respond to David. I mean, the stocks are my stocks are less than half than they were. I have aggressive tech stocks, but the stocks are shit compared to 2020. Yes, but the stocks are up from where they bottomed out. The Dow Jones was at under 30,000. It's now at 34,000. So there is some signs of growth. Gas prices have gone back up a little bit.
But that's why the jobs are so high, right, Anthony? Like what is it? Yes. The 500,000 this last report.
Yeah,
because people can't afford to pay for anything, so they have to go out and get jobs. They can't sit at home anymore collecting government checks. Like they have to work. Welfare is not enough. Food stamps not enough to survive. Like they have to get a job.
Well, look at the real numbers.
In a way, that's a good thing, I guess.
So Russo took the political stance and pointing out all those things. Sorry, K-Sock, for jumping in front, but I'm just going to squash the numbers of what they're going to talk about from what he said. When you talk about those figures, yes, those figures are accurate. But if you actually look at the economy and how people are living, we are 2008 rates of being behind on car payments. We are now seeing foreclosures starting to hit the mortgage industry right now. Our economy is not healthy. What the government wants is to lie to the American people so they continue to spend to hide that we are in a major recession. Yes. That is how they can do it, is lie. But if you look at the real facts, we are in a major recession and it's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse. And so if they can keep people spending money, they can try to land slowly or make a soft landing. That's what they're trying to do.
I think they also might know that there's going to be Republican leadership in 2024. And if they can push it just far enough where the economy implodes right when that new administration comes in, they could blame everything on the Republicans and we're back to square one. Kasach, what do you think they're going to
Right. Well, for me, I'm not even going to invest the time in watching the nonsense. To Dave's point, he's not going to tackle the tough questions. It's going to be glossing over BS. He's going to bring up the jobs report, which is a miracle that it's even where it's at, because he's done everything in his power to kill jobs and kill the economy. And so I will just wait for some blooper reels and some highlights. I'm not going to waste the brain cells. But, and then to Casey's point on the economy, I mean, it's absolutely tanking. We're just starting to see it. I had an economist on my show recently, and he was talking about how people's credit cards are maxed. It is just, we are trending in the wrong direction. We have, I think, more than a recession here. We're going to see some big problems in the next few years. Good time to go buy up land cheap.
I think anybody that has watched the show since the beginning, the big thing I said is if we did switch to a Biden administration, we would be in a place that would be, because anybody that does investments knows if you invest stocks today, the history of the United States stock market, that no matter what, you are doing incredibly well in 20 years. I said that was previously true. And people think that it's like that all over the world. It's not like that in China. It's not like that in Japan, Europe. Most of that over the last 20 years has been a flat line on stocks. So for them, that's not the way that they do long-term investments. That's how we do in the United States. I have said since day one of this battle between Donald Trump and Joe Biden that if Joe Biden went into a Donald Trump economy, it would be like throwing ice bath on a fire, and it could completely reset the way our whole economy does business. And the fact that we are elongating this recessionary period before we have it scares me, because I do think this will lead to a very, very dangerous long-term outcome where the United States, essentially their economy is not the way in terms of stocks and all this it is. And that is the way people have invested their life savings for a very, very long time. There's going to be a lot of angry people retiring in the next 10 to 15 years that technically won't be able to retire, in my honest opinion.
Well, and keep in mind, the U.S. government is also trying to increase the age of retirement. Why are they trying to do that?
They see this coming.
All these tech companies that you're seeing doing layoffs right now are just starting to do the layoffs to cut the fat, to try to be a little bit lean. But if you were to actually be on the inside, and I work in that industry, they are planning for a depression style of economy coming up this year. Yeah. A lot of them are. So it's going to hurt. And to touch on Kasach's point about credit card debt, yeah, it just reminded me, we hit a record of $930 billion in credit card debt in America just this last month. $930 billion is what Americans owe on credit cards. Yeah. And interest rates are astronomical. People cannot survive doing what's going on right now.
Yeah. I still think we're probably 24 to 36 months out, to a big world of hurt for a lot of people. I think there's ways to correct it. But I also want to go back to Casey's point and the question that he posed to us a little bit earlier about war. Because, when you have an economy that's struggling and inflation that's crazy and you need to generate, revenue and take some control, this is when wars are the prime correction, solution. At least this is how the government sees it, right? So that'll be interesting how those two things coincide with each other if we get to that tipping point.
I also think the one thing I want to say, because I was giving the positives, I was giving what I think Joe Biden will say regarding the economy. But I know they're going to misuse information and the data regarding inflation. So they use the fact that inflation is going down based on the month previous. We are now entering the period, because inflation is based off of 1 year ago today. We are now already entering the period that a year ago today, inflation started to skyrocket. So of course, it's going to start to go down. So if we are at baseline in a couple months from a year before, that's because we were up 9.5% leading into it. Americans aren't good at math. That's our great, amazing school system. So they're able to be manipulated by this kind of data. That's what I do think that's what I think Biden will be reading off the teleprompter tonight to create misinformation. I think that he'll mention the Chinese balloon. I think he'll mention that he shot it down and how great of a president he is and that he's fired up Xi Jinping and all these different things. I think he's going to mention the economy more so than anything. And I actually think he's going to, and this is my prediction, I think he's going to lean a little lighter than typical on the Trump Republicans. I think he's going to make a statement or two and then move on. I think a lot of it is going to be gaslighting the country on how great things are. That's my final thought on that. And I guess that's everybody's final thought on that.
Aye.
So, all right, guys. Final words. I didn't see anything in the comments that we need to look at. The only thing U.S. exporting is military. That's good. Do you think people today could live? No, we're a bunch of pansy asses. But, people do. Americans rise to the occasion. So whatever happens, as long as our country and we still have a military and we somehow can stay free and we still have hardworking Americans that protect our freedoms, I do think that we can survive another Great Depression.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Why does a man who supposedly got 81 million votes need to have a fence re-erected outside of the Capitol before his State of the Union address?
God, you said erected, and all I could think of is when was the last time Joe Biden actually had an erection?
Decades.
Why is that the only thing to go through your mind?
I don't know. It's probably the only thing that goes through Ashley Biden's mind, too, is like, please, Daddy, not another one. Okay, too far. Was that too far? Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, they knew 300,000 people were going to come to D.C. to protest and fight for election integrity. They didn't put up a fence, but they put up a fence before a State of the Union address when there's basically like no one attending it, like no one rallying there. Like what?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Great question.
I thought he was all about unity.
Yeah, he's good. I think we all know that. Casey, final words?
Not much. I encourage everybody to watch it. I know it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a disaster, but how do we criticize the left for not paying attention and seeing things when we don't watch and pay attention and go over it? So I encourage you to at least make sure you know what he said, catch some highlights, know what was discussed, so you're prepared for those conversations and you have done your part. And so that's all I can say is for tonight, at least make sure you understand what he discussed during the State of the Union.
If anybody's in the Texas area, like myself, Dallas area, Fort Worth area, Chad Prather is doing a show at the Mule Barn in Justin.
Cool.
Which Kelly and I will be going to. That was actually also the place that Kelly and I had our first date. Super romantic. It's in Justin, Texas, just outside of Fort Worth. It's about 20 minutes. If you want to, tickets are like $20. I'll be there. Chad Prather will be performing with the Ragamuffins. You'll see him, and I'm going to hope that we'll talk briefly about what's going to happen at the summit in June. So make sure you check out and buy those tickets. KSOC, go ahead and give your final words and where people can find you.
Yeah. So my final words are for anyone out there that has chickens that are not laying eggs, switch to goat feed and see how that works out for you. Because I'm seeing a lot of research on this recently, and it just makes me wonder what's in that chicken feed. And I don't think it's a coincidence. So that's my 2 cents on that topic. Wanted to slip that in. Also, you can find me on Instagram, ksoak.lower48. It's up there on the handle. Everywhere else, I'm ksoak uncensored. And I appreciate you guys having me on again.
You just confused me. You said it 2 different ways. I've been saying KSOC the whole show. Then
I know I switched.
Said KSOak.
Okay, here's the backstory on that. People at work used to call me KSOak, right? But technically, the proper pronunciation is sock.
It's a G-rated program. I don't want to know why you're called KSOak. For goodness. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so technically the proper pronunciation is sock. And so I'm trying to mind switch it over so I don't sound like an imbecile.
That's good. I like that. So I'm good. I was right with KSOC, just to be clear.
Yes, that is correct.
Got it. All right. KSOC, not KSOak. 2 very different things. One makes me think of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then KSOak makes me think that you were a phone sex operator at your previous job.
Yeah. I'm glad I woke up to that one.
Final words, Dave.
I don't know. I'm kind of interested to hear what Sarah Huckabee Sanders' rebuttal is, because I'm a big fan of hers.
Me too.
I think she'll deliver a great rebuttal. First female governor of Arkansas, right? So there's a nice glass ceiling that Hillary Clinton never broke. And then just want to encourage you guys to get into the community and surround yourself with like-minded patriots, like everyone on this panel, people who want to pursue more out of life, people who aren't going to wait and rely on the government to save them. They're going to, be more committed and focused on doing the hard work so they can save themselves and provide for themselves without relying on the government. That's what we're all about. We're all about self, family, community, and country. And we'd love to see you inside of our community and love to have you at the next Great American Summit, June 2nd and 3rd. Dallas, Texas at Gillies. So just head on over greatamericansyndicate.com, learn more, check out our community, and learn more about the event.
It's $4.99 a month right now. Please, guys, just go ahead and check that out. We need to actually build the community. We're doing this without major funding, without major sponsors. So we need you to be able to do it. Take it easy, guys. This has been Truth Will Set You Free, episode 124. And from Xi Jinping, we say good night to all. My spy is down. I cannot watch you anymore. Good night. God bless. I probably bomb you next time.